Hello and welcome to Getting Real. My name is Joshua Halstead.
I'm Michael Halstead.
And today we're counting down our top 10 films of the year. Now these are our favorites, not what we think are necessarily the top 10 best made films of the year. When you start with your top 10, do your 10 through 6, and then I'll do my 10 through 6 and work down.
Alright, so I'll start with my top 10. My number 10 film for the year is It. And it's very rare that I'll have a horror movie in my top 10, but this was just such a well-made movie. It didn't feel like your normal horror film. It felt like Stand By Me with a killer clown in the background, which doesn't sound like a glowing endorsement, but it really is. It was a very well-made film. The acting was great. The pacing was wonderful. It's really hard for me to find something I didn't like about that movie.
CGI.
Even the CGI was done well in it, though. I didn't find it distracting. And there are a few things where they wouldn't have been able to do what they were going for without that CGI.
Yeah, I mean, it is on my list. I think the CGI was necessary. There's one particular scene of CGI at the end with the creature at the end that was... one scene where the CGI was...
I didn't think that was that poorly done, though. But for spoiler's sake, we won't get into that. My number 9 is Ingrid Goes West. I loved that movie. I know they kind of branded it as a comedy. Just watching the trailers, I realized that's not what it was going to be. The film's really an exploration, and a very well-made exploration of mental illness, and it explores this theme. It portrays mental illness accurately, and it was just a film that I could connect to, and I really, really enjoyed watching. There was a lot more depth to it than the trailers would have you expect, and easily one of my favorite films of the year. I mean, it's in my top 10. I loved it. Number 8 is 13 Minutes. That's a German film about World War II and the attempted assassination of Adolf Hitler. I really liked it. Definitely a lower budget film, but I thought all the performances were excellent. I thought it was a very gripping story. The way that it balanced between flashback and present tense, as we see through the film's lens, I thought was done very, very well. And they made you care about the characters. There was development throughout the whole thing, even though it's a pretty static story as far as the in the now part goes. But the way they built up the backstory really makes you connect to and care about the characters. And it was just really fun for me to watch. I enjoyed it. I connected to it. I thought that it was a great representation of a part of history that you don't really get a lot of treatment on in schools or history classes or in film, really. It's something that a lot of people maybe don't know about, and this is a great way to introduce that to more people. I
really, really enjoyed that one. That was one where I had my honorable mentions because we're only doing 5. I had to kind of drop it. I really, really enjoyed that film.
Yeah.
I thought it was really powerful, and I loved that it was a much more intimate story than I expected. Going in that lead actor whose name I can't even try to pronounce, but he's in this other one, the White Ribbon.
Yeah.
And he is incredible in it. That one was fantastic. It hurt not being able to fit it into my list.
Yeah. Number 7 is Battle of Sexes with Steve Carell and Emma Stone. It was a pretty accurate representation. They definitely took some creative license with some of the events. Overall, I thought it did a good job of portraying what happened back then. I thought it was just a fun film to watch. It made you care about the characters, made you connect to them, and it's just different from what you see in the theaters. It was a much more toned down film. It's not a big spectacle. It's more about the characters. It's a character piece. And for that to get a major release like that was awesome. And I thought the acting, the writing, the directing, all of that was phenomenal. And so for that reason, I put that at number 7 on my list.
That was a really high on my list one. That was on my top 10 for a long time. I really liked it. Steve Carell in that film was basically Michael Scott.
He was a bit of Michael Scott, but more intentionally so than Michael Scott is Michael Scott.
I think Emma Stone every year is in one film that's just fantastic. I mean, for the last several years, every Emma Stone film, she's in one film a year where it's just like, wow. I feel like in this performance, she had a lot more to do than she normally does. Like, even in Birdman, she's given this sideline character, so she gives a great performance in a character that's like fun.
Yeah.
And
I thought she was great in Birdman. I love Birdman.
She's fantastic in that film. So I thought she was amazing here, and I'm really excited to see what she does moving forward.
Number 6 is Logan, and that film, I knew I had to expect a grittier, more violent Wolverine movie going into that. Outside of that, not a lot was revealed through the trailers. I knew it was going to be kind of the Old Man Logan's storyline. Obviously, there's going to be some creative license with that, and there was. But what I loved about that movie was it felt almost like an old Western modernized. Now, obviously, the weapons aren't guns, they're, blades that shoot out of your hands, but it was such a gripping story. I love the way they portrayed X-23. I thought it was a great send-off for Wolverine. It's just hard for me to find something about that film that I didn't like. Honestly, I think that's probably one of the best X-Men films, if not the best X-Men film that's been made.
I think it's the best X-Men film, hands down. And I think which is weird to say because I'm a huge Hugh Jackman fan, I think it is his best performance, hands down, in any film. I think he does a better job with depth in there than he even did in Les Miserables, which is one of my favorite films of all time. It also made a list and it didn't, and one of the things you brought up, you're like, feels like an old Western. Well, yeah, because it's literally Shane. It is the movie Shane. And I'm watching the film, I'm like, this feels like Shane. And then there's a scene where they're watching Shane. And I was like, okay, that's my one complaint on the film. It's just like, you're trying so hard to be Shane, and then you call yourself out for it, and now I'm just more aware of the fact that
I think most people watching it probably haven't seen Shane. I mean, I know Shane was kind of a big thing when it came out. I don't think it's such a big thing now. But to say the films are similar is going to be very base level, because to put those two on the same plane, basic story elements are there, the films are completely different. And I thought it was nice that it paid homage to kind of the thing it was pulling inspiration from, while also doing its own thing.
Yeah, I did really like it. So I'll do my 10 through 6 now. So my number 10 was Darkest Hour. I love Darkest Hour. And I didn't expect to love Darkest Hour. I was like, I gotta go see it, it's gonna be pretty good. Not generally, this kind of film is kind of hit or miss for me. I went and saw it largely because I really like Gary Oldman, and I'm rooting for him to
one of my favorite actors.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, it was amazing. I mean, it's a small story, and it's a pretty straightforward story, right? And so those kinds of films are really easy to mess up, to make boring, to make slow, to make, it's another Oscar grab film. There's so much humor in that film.
Yeah.
So many moments where, like, oh, they're going to be all somber and serious, and oh, did he just make a joke?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of moments like that, and I get that's part of Winston Churchill's personality, so you kind of have to have that. My word. Gary Oldman's performance was fantastic.
Yeah.
The direction, it had such a brisk pace, and I gotta point out, Lily James having a great year, and she's such a fantastic actress. And I've been a fan of Lily James for a really long time, but she did a thing for a while where, like, in great film, in Stephanie Meyer film, in great film, in crap film. And so I'm so happy now. She's had a couple years now in a row with just like great film, great film, great film, great film. Yeah. And I think she's starting to kind of like, people starting to notice her more, especially with Baby Driver this year, and then with Darkest Hour. I think people are going to really start to cast her and recognize her as a really talented performer. Number 9, I have kind of a guilty pleasure film. So like I said, these are our list for favorites. It's the only film on my list that is not fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It has about a 55%. I have The Greatest Showman. It's one of those films where, look, critics aren't gonna like it because it's not meant to be that kind of film. It's a feel-good throwback to old musicals with some fun pop music and a lot of really inspiring, upbeat messages. Musicals, and it's not the greatest film of the year. It's nowhere near the greatest film of the year. But it's about how it makes you feel. This film is about how it makes you feel, and I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I was having a really, really rough time when I saw this film, and my brain was not in a great place, and this film made me smile. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was powerful and moving.
I thought it was treated a bit unfairly by critics. I don't know that I would... obviously, it's not my top 15. It's not my honorable mentions or my top, but I did really like the film. Not huge on musicals. It really depends on the musical, but I thought it was fun to watch. The music was good. The performances were good. I take a bit of an issue with some of the changes they made to the historical events and how they portrayed P.T. Barnum. They kind of glossed over some of the not-so-nice aspects of his life, which there were plenty. But outside of that, it was a well-made film. Hugh Jackman did a great job in it, as did all the cast. Zendaya, Zac Efron, everybody.
What I was really blown away with by, I'm a really big Zac Efron fan, and I have been for a really long time. But Zac Efron has, for a while, stopped doing serious roles. I mean, he's done a slew of, R-rated raunch comedies, which he's great in. He's hilarious. But, like, you're just playing a frat boy and everything. Zac Efron was really good in this film.
He was, yeah.
And his vocals, and the fact that he was in a duet scene with Hugh Jackman, the two of them singing, and held his own, where it wasn't like, here's the Broadway star, and here's the guy that does raunchy comedies, where literally, I mean, they are bouncing back and forth perfectly. I was blown away by that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, right? It's Greatest Showman as a film works for me. Maybe it doesn't work for everybody because it's not a fantastic film. But there are several moments in this film that are just fantastic.
Yeah.
And that really floored me. My next one is Colossal, which apparently nobody saw.
I didn't see it, but it is on my watch list now that I know about it.
Colossal stars Anne Hathaway and Jason Sudeikis. It's kind of like if you took Mumblecore and made it a kaiju film. So basically, there's a kaiju monster in Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a monster in Korea. And then also, there's Anne Hathaway playing a girl who has been out of work for a year, whose boyfriend dumped her, who moves back to her hometown, trying to figure out her life and reunite with somebody she knew when she was in elementary school, starts working at his bar, and then just this drama comedy story going on while there's a kaiju in Korea, and then maybe a connection between them. It's one of those films where it's really a weird concept, and I didn't know what to expect going into it. Anne Hathaway for me is sort of a hit or miss actress. I think that she's a little bit too cookie cutter goody in a lot of stuff. So a lot of times when she plays that sort of manic pixie dream girl character, it doesn't work at all. At all. She's unbelievable. Devil Wears Prada, which I think is a good film, she's too perfect for that role. It doesn't play right. I thought she did a really good job. She actually delivered moments in this film where I believed her as that character, which I don't normally do. I think this is probably her best performance since Les Miserables. She was great in it. And Jason Sudeikis, man, that dude needs to be more. He was in a race last year and he gave a great performance. And then he's in here and he gives another great performance. We have to do a lot with this character. I was blown away.
Yeah.
Number 7, I have It.
Yeah.
I have it higher than you have it.
A little higher, yeah.
I'm a huge horror movie fanatic. It's my favorite genre. I'm partial to it. Every year, there are a couple of horror movies I'm like, that's really good. Not very often are they studio horror films.
Yeah. That studio horror films are normally just very bland, very boring for me. I don't like them.
I was blown away. And I'm going to be completely upfront. I don't like the guy that directed this film at all. His first film, which is fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, which was well received, I hate that film. I cannot stand it. I loved this. And I have read the book of it. I've watched the miniseries countless times. I'm obsessed with it. So I had high expectations. This met them and surpassed them. This was so good. And I think it works really well because they kept, they changed a lot from the book, which I actually think is a good thing for this because we've seen a lot of the book in the miniseries. Right. But they kept, I think, the most important thing about the book. The book is not a horror movie. It's a drama with a clown. It's the drama about characters coming of age.
Yeah.
With a clown in the background. And they did such a good job delivering that. The performances were around, all the kid actors were great. Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
When they cast him as Richie,
Excellent.
I thought, they cast him as Richie, and I'm like, what? Because the original Richie in the miniseries is Seth Green, right? And that's how I see Richie. I see Richie as the nerdy, fixing on glasses and doing the funny. He was so good in this film. Yeah. I was blown away.
He was one of the highlight performances of the film.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. And then my number 6 is Blade Runner 2049, which I really thought was going to be higher. But there were a few others I really liked. But Blade Runner 2049.
That is on my list. We'll get to that soon.
Talk about technically. Technically, it is near perfect.
Absolutely.
It floored me.
I can't think of anything about that film I don't like, honestly.
I can think of one, which is why it's a little bit lower. It's a bit overlong. It's a very long film, which isn't always a bad thing. But in this film, for me at least, there were moments where I knew it was going to come, and so the 30 minutes building up to it just didn't need to be there. And for me, there was about a half hour in the film, throughout the film, not at one point, where I thought, yeah, you could easily remove that, and the film would actually feel brisker and work better. But I'm opposed from you on this one that I think it's better than the original. I think it absolutely is better than the original, and I love the original.
Yeah.
I think this is better.
I'm not going to agree there, but...
Denis Villeneuve every year just...
he did one of my favorite films, if not my favorite film from last year, which was Arrival.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a bad film for Denis Villeneuve, and I loved Blade Runner. So, your top 5.
All right, number 5, I have Baby Driver. I absolutely loved that movie. I love the way that they spliced the driving and the music to all kind of synchronize together. It's not weird. It's a very musical film, though it's not a musical, but these sequences where he's got his headphones in, he's blasting the music, and everything's kind of synced up. It just really engages you, and it was really, really fun to watch. You've got your car chases, and I love car chases in films when they're done well. Actual car chases, not CGI car chases. A great soundtrack. You've got phenomenal performances from everybody in the film. It was... even putting it number 5, my top 5 was really hard to do, and Baby Driver moved all around on my top 5, but I absolutely loved Baby Driver.
Was Christopher Plummer good in it?
Number 4 was Lady Bird. That was another great movie. I loved Lady Bird. Normally, I'm not big on these coming-of-age, teen-based stories, but it was done very craftfully. You know, the direction was awesome, the writing was great, the characters, you actually cared about them. Granted, Lady Bird, her self-given name, if you will, Lady Bird was a bit of a prima donna. She's your typical teenager. But they show growth in this character. They show progression, and they show this maturing of this character into an adult. And I really liked it. I came out of the theater blown away by what I saw. And I wasn't really super interested in the film before I saw it. I mean, I like Greta Gerwig. I saw the reviews, and I saw it sitting at 100%. I'm like, okay, I gotta give this a fair shake. And it ended up being, as you can see, one of my favorite films of the year. It's just so different from what I was expecting to get, but it was absolutely phenomenal. Number 3 is 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yes.
That was one of my more anticipated films of the year, and I absolutely loved it. I thought they did a great job blending humor and drama and interweaving the stories of multiple characters, and even the unlikable characters making you feel a connection to them, which was uncomfortable, but I liked it. And it's branded as being focused on the mother,
yeah,
which a lot of the story is, but it also focuses on the captain. It focuses on one of the other guys that work there. It's kind of sort of these 3 narratives that work together, and you find yourself caring about each of these characters. Each of these characters is flawed. Each of these characters has problems, but also shows, the good parts of each of these characters and makes you personally invested in each of these 3 stories that are kind of interweaving together, and I really like that. Number 2 is Get Out, which there wasn't a lot of hype leading up to that, at least not that I heard of. I kind of heard of it right when it came out. I didn't end up seeing it until it was on Blu-ray, unfortunately. I wish I could have seen it in the theater, but it was amazing. And given who it was directed by, that's not the type of movie I would expect, right? Because I've seen Key and Peele, and then I hear that Jordan Peele is doing a horror thriller film. I mean, not the first thing that pops to your mind, right?
Right.
And really, I didn't know a lot about the movie going into it. I saw one of the trailers. I intentionally didn't learn a lot before I watched the film because I just wanted to experience it as it was happening, and I was blown away. That's not what I would have expected from Jordan Peele, but I really can't wait for him to do more of this stuff because that was one of the best films I've seen in a long, long time.
And he is doing more. He said he's going to do a whole series of social drama horror movies.
Yeah.
Which I'm thrilled for. I love Get Out.
As much as I love Key and Peele, this is what I want him to be doing. So, you hear me, hey, Ron? All right, my number 1 film of the year, Blade Runner 2049. I have been looking forward to this film since the moment it was released. I was a little skeptical at first because Blade Runner is, in my mind, the greatest science fiction film of all time when you get to the ultimate cut. And creating a sequel to something like Blade Runner, it's not something that calls for a sequel. It's not something that has a sequel story. So this is all original content, and I'm always hesitant when they do a sequel 30 years after the fact. But when I saw who was directing it, I saw that Harrison Ford was coming back. I started seeing the press releases. I got really excited for it.
Yeah.
I kind of hyped it up in my mind a lot, to the point where I was like, oh man, I really hope I didn't ruin it for myself by hyping it up so much. But it was even better than I expected, and I honestly loved it. I don't think it was better than the first, but I think it was almost as good or as good as the first. It was a technically near perfect film. The performances were phenomenal. The storytelling was masterful. I can't think of anything about that film I didn't like. I was just invested in it. Was a long film, but I didn't feel like it. I was invested in that movie the whole time. I was glued to the screen, and as soon as the credits rolled, I just want to sit back down and watch it again, which doesn't happen often, but I loved it.
All right. So my number 5 is one that we actually just watched. Columbus.
Columbus, yeah, and that was a good one.
I was really excited for Columbus, and for numerous reasons. I didn't get to see it during the week that it was at the theater local here.
Yeah.
And I was just waiting for the digital copy. Finally watched it. I don't even know how to write a review for Columbus. Just absolutely fantastic.
Anything I was expecting, I didn't get.
Yeah,
it was very different from what the trailers even made it out.
The trailers kind of sold it as almost like liberal arts, but for intelligent people,
Yeah.
like a more artistic, because liberal arts is written by Josh Radnor. I love liberal arts,
Right?
But I mean, and admittedly, Josh Radnor made that film to be more mass appeal and to be more of a, and that's not what this is. This is not what this is.
Yeah.
But that's how the trailers sold it. I was expecting, it's liberal arts with John Cho and Haley Lee Richardson. It's so good. I mean, I mentioned it in my review of it because I wrote the review already. I mentioned in my review of it. The harsh lines and the harsh, solid, sturdy lines of the architecture mixed with this sort of sloppy, messy disaster that is love creates this incredible juxtaposition as far as the emotion you feel watching the film. And it's really not about the characters. It's not about John Cho and Haley Richardson. It's about the town of Columbus.
Yeah.
More than anything, it becomes the main character, and I found it very emotionally resonant. It's so beautifully melancholy. I was just absolutely floored by everything. And John Cho, I am such a huge fan of John Cho, and I have been since I was a kid. And he's such an incredible actor. And now seeing him do this incredible drama, dude, he better be doing more of these. And Haley Lee Richardson, who was also in the series Split, who was in last year's Edge of 17, she's rising up as one of my favorite young actresses in the industry. She's just, I liked the pace. I thought the slow benefited the film. I really did. I thought the slowness, the lingering shots of architecture, people just walking or staring at something, I felt that made you more sucked into the world.
It seemed like it was more interested in being artistic than telling a story.
I didn't think so. I loved it. My number 4, Get Out.
Hey, that was a good one.
I loved Get Out. I love every second of that film. I don't have any issues with it whatsoever. I think it's phenomenal. It's intelligent. It's fast-paced. It makes you curious all the way through when you watch it. I've watched it now 4 times. Every time you watch it, you pull new things out of it. The performances are great. The twist ending is amazing.
Yeah.
I just loved that film from beginning to end. And I'm not a Key and Peele fan. I'm not a Jordan Peele fan as it stands. I'm now a Jordan Peele fan. Get Out made me one. That was just fantastic.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Lady Bird. I love Lady Bird. Greta Gerwig is one of my favorite writers. She works a lot in the mumblecore genre. She did Frances Ha, which is phenomenal. She's just done a lot of work with Joe Swanberg.
I will say, seeing Lady Bird makes me wish that she would have directed Frances Ha.
Hey, Noah Baumbach made that.
I know.
I love Noah Baumbach. But yeah, I mean, this is her directorial debut, and what a directorial debut. I mean, the way she handles the camera, because she knows making this film how to shoot to where it's still artistic, it's still pretty to look at, but where you're not thinking about the camera work, where you feel like a fly on the wall. And that's a really hard thing to do, like really hard. The direction is fantastic. I mean, Saoirse Ronan, who I'm just obsessed with. I love Saoirse Ronan. Holy crap.
Phenomenal.
And Lucas Hedges, who was in last year's Manchester by the Sea, he's in this, and he was in 3 Billboards. He is fantastic. and he gave such a great performance here. And I don't think I expected. I mean, I watch a lot of young adult films, or well, not anymore. I watched a lot when I was, a teenager. I don't think I expected anything that this film did.
No.
And number 2, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Oh man, that was fantastic. I mean, Martin McDonagh is fantastic. Martin McDonagh did Seven Psychopaths and In Bruges, both of which I adore, both of which have Colin Farrell. I think this is his first film without Colin Farrell. Wow, it was good. It's got Woody Harrelson, Woody Harrelson I really like. He is hit or miss for me in his films. He's always good, but his films are hit and miss because sometimes, it's Woody Harrelson.
He also did LBJ this year, which is directed by Rob Reiner. That has got mixed reviews. It's been on my watch list. I wish I could have seen it, but yeah. So he's got a few that came out this year, LBJ and this, and I think that this is definitely the more critically well received of the two.
Yeah, and he's so good in it, but I don't want to say because everyone gives a great performance, and so it's hard for me looking at where it's a film cast with a bunch of my favorite actors. So I don't want to take away from the fact that Frances McDormand gave a career performance in this film.
Yeah,
she is amazing in this film, and the direction and the writing is all so fantastic and so layered and so perfect. But I gotta say, Sam Rockwell, who is one of my favorite living actors, I think he topped Moon with his performance in this. Yeah. And that's really hard to do.
Every film I see with him, he brings something different, and every time, even if I don't really care for the film, I like his performance.
He was just phenomenal in this, and I think because he plays the it's not spoiled in the trailer. He plays the racist cop. It took maybe 10 minutes of him being on camera before immediately it was established that he's not just some awful racist horrible cop. And they developed that character, and he brings so much depth and so much layer to that character. It was just absolutely astounding.
Yeah.
And my number 1, which was an honorable mention for you, my number 1 is Mother.
Yeah. I really liked Mother. I don't know, there were just a lot of good movies this year, and I definitely felt, it was my number 1 honorable mention, so it was 11 on my list if we did a full 15. But I really liked it. Not as much as you did, I don't think, but I still really enjoyed the film.
Look, it's one of those films, it's been very divisive. It's been incredibly divisive. People are some people are like, it's torture porn. And other people are like, it's a masterpiece, greatest film ever. I love it. You know how much I love Darren Aronofsky. There's not a Darren Aronofsky film I don't like, except for Noah.
Which I like.
I love Darren Aronofsky, and for me, David Lynch is one of my favorite directors. And Aronofsky kind of feels like a modern age version of David Lynch in a lot of what he does.
And this film felt very Lynchian.
Yeah, and I loved it. And people are saying, well, it's hitting it over the head with the religious symbolism. Well, that's only one layer of the metaphor in the film.
Yeah, there's so much going on in this. I thought the storytelling was good. It did feel rushed. It felt like the film was rushed, which is because it was. He wrote the script in a week, and then they filmed it in a couple. But outside, I genuinely enjoyed the film, and it was hard not to put it in my top 10. But it was a very good film.
Yeah, I loved every second of the film. There wasn't anything that was. There was nothing that I felt was stand out bad or stand out like, there are a few decisions where I thought, okay, you could have handled that scene a little better. But the reason why I stand on my number 1, the last act of this film is so powerful, so moving, and so impactful that when I left the theater, I wasn't thinking about those it literally took me like a couple of weeks after seeing the film until I started to think about the film and go, oh, you probably could have shot this scene a little bit different. And when I can leave a film, because I pick apart films the second they're over and point out even films that I love. We saw Star Wars, which I adored, and as much as I loved Star Wars, I still left the theater going, don't like this, don't like this, don't like this. This could have been done better.
Yeah, I didn't so much do that. I just enjoyed the film.
I pick apart everything. We saw Disaster Artist, which I adored, and I left the theater going, I love that. It was so good. And here are the things I don't like. I don't think I said anything negative about Mother leaving the theater.
What a crazy story.
I was blown away. I thought it was really good, really powerful, really unique and different. And look, is it flawless? Not quite. But part of film, to me, is how it makes you feel. What it does to you. And I don't think there's any film, even for people that don't like it, there's no film that is this viscerally effective. The reason I so did this is because people are so viscerally connected to the film that when it took that dive at the end, they were so disgusted by it because it was so believable and so visceral to watch that they couldn't handle it.
Right, and I thought the camera work was extremely effective in that film.
I think
really
it's
was.
yeah. I mean, I saw something saying that they followed Jennifer Lawrence too closely. I think it was perfect.
Yeah, there was a reason for it. The shots that were close up for a reason, and they were effective in their purpose.
I mean, it was creating that claustrophobia with the camera work, and there's only 2 establishing shots in that entire film. I counted 2 establishing shots. The rest of it is these close-ups of people and these small room little enclosures. It was amazing. And Domhnall Gleeson, who was barely in it, Domhnall Gleeson was incredible and heartbreaking for the 2 minutes he's on screen. It was a good year for cinema.
It really was. I'm looking forward to seeing what 2018 has to offer.
Yeah, I think it'd be really great. And so yeah, that's our list. So hopefully that gives you a taste of our personal interest in film, because this is going to be the first of our series. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to start doing weekly recaps of here's what came out, here are our general thoughts. Then we have a website, halsteadreviews.com, where you can go there and you can read more detailed reviews of the films coming out. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share.
Or done.